thank the City of Smith Station for hosting us. Yes, sorry, I was distracted. All right, so we're gonna get started. This is our third annual Breakfast with the Mayors, and this is one of our favorite events that ELU puts on. So we're just gonna get started and run right through our agenda. West, one of our ELU board members, is gonna lead us in our icebreaker. Oh, okay. Well, it made me feel good.
All right. All right, so we're going to start off. Poor Valerie didn't get to use it. All right, so 3 facts. Originally studied to be a German teacher. Am trained to participate in an incline skating marathon. And grew up in Minnesota. Can anybody guess who that is?
Hello.
Y'all don't jump in once.
Adrian.
Yeah.
I can give you an easy one with the Minnesota.
What part of Minnesota?
White Bear Lake, about 20 minutes north of Minneapolis.
Still lost.
All right, have 3 jobs, collect tennis shoes, and have the president's cell number.
Here. I was looking for tennis shoes. That one.
I know the tennis shoes, but I know 3 jobs.
If you have not seen him on the news with the president, I have met Wilmer Valderrama from That 70s Show, lived in South Carolina, and own a minivan. McLean's right. I'm gonna do one more. Yeah. I have 4 kids with the same women.
I guess that is.
I just feel like I know who this is because I heard somebody say, I've got the best one. Played arena football with the Chattahoochee Valley Vipers, and a realtor with Coldwell Banker.
Let's do one more.
Okay. We're gonna do one
Give me that
more.
person. One more. Just one.
Let's see. Here, Taylor, you pick one. I have a 1-year-old. I am from St. John, and I was a majorette. See, what happened was, I'll stop telling you, it originally was that, and Valerie changed it at some point. She says that she didn't, but it was. So what was the lie then? Okay. Okay, there we go. So where are we passing the mic, Valerie?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Is it working? Back on stage to actually use the mic. So we're gonna get right into our program to ask the mayor's questions. Erica and Tavari are gonna be our MCs.
So quiet. You think we need it? You feel loud enough?
We'll see.
Okay.
All right, so we're part of ELU. If you are not a member already, just support United Way. If you're under 40, you will become a member. ELU members give $365 a year. That's $1 a day. That's the same as Starbucks, but a little bit cheaper. So anyway, we thank you for coming today. We're excited that you are here. My name is Erica Walker.
Oh, and I'm Tavari Turner. So
All right.
excited.
So we're just gonna get right in because, as I understand, at least 2 of you have somewhere to be.
All 3 of us.
All 3 of you.
Oh.
The life of a mayor. All
Yes.
right.
Okay.
We're just gonna get in. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And Lo, we're so glad to have you this year. Thank you for being here. We're gonna go ahead and get started. We have questions that were previously submitted. Hopefully you had a chance to review them. I'm gonna start with the one that I submitted, because I can. But anyway, the first one says, this past year has shown many corporate executives and companies how important it is to have a strong team. As mayor, Can you relate to this and speak about your experience with navigating a community while faced with local and even national disruptions? Can we start with you?
Sure. I didn't get the questions, so
Oh, okay.
but that's all right.
That's good. Off the cuff.
He made reference, he didn't want the questions.
Oh, that's good.
But based on everything that has happened, particularly last year, it was very challenging for all of us. And one thing that I hope that we all took away from that, and is still taken away from that, is how much we need each other. It's about people. And Mayor Henderson, as we were talking over there this morning, the most mission critical of anything is people. You know, we encourage people to go to school, get all the knowledge, get all the skills, but at the end of the day, it's about people. So what I see has happened is that everything I believe is ordained for a purpose. And I think part of that purpose is for us to get back as a race of people, how you need each other and how you have to be on a team. Every one of us is on a team, whether it's a team at church, whether it's with your family, whether it's with employers, whether it's with the gigs that we're in. You're on a team. And me being an ex-athlete, I understand how important a team is. But what we need to realize, and one thing I was taught, is you play on the team for your teammate. You sacrifice for your teammate, because once you do that, if your teammate wins, you win. If your teammate loses, you lose. If your teammate looks good, you look good. If your teammate look bad, you look bad. So in the crisis that we've had, and particularly in the gigs that we're in, one of the things that I know all of us realize, because of our core values, now I can say that about these two men, is that we know how important teamwork is, in that we also believe that you have to be sacrificial as a leader for the team. So with all of that being said, the takeaway for me is that we need to really get back to why we were created, for people. Because we cannot live in the society on our own, we cannot be on a team on our own. It's important that we build up the team and that we continue to realize that we have to put that team before we do ourselves. And that's a learning behavior. But I think with COVID happening, I hope that it's brought us all back to that point that we truly need each other. Because if we don't do what we're supposed to do, everybody's going to fail. So what I've taken away from that is applying that even more to the city of Phoenix City.
All right. Mayor Copeland, how important is it to have a strong team? How have you realized that as mayor?
You know, this past year's has been very challenging, to say the least, for all three of us. One of the most interesting parts is how COVID took us and made us all on the same level. Didn't matter your skin color, didn't matter your socioeconomic level, didn't matter how old you were. Everybody was on the same level and everybody was at home. But it also taught us old guys that we've got to get outside of our comfort zone and learn Zoom and learn all the things that the millennials know, which is a good thing. So the challenges were through the last year, and then the teamwork it took. You were, like Mayor Lowe said, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And so the people that you have surrounded you will build you up. And I have a great staff. One of my council members is here right now, Mr. Steve Langston. And we worked together this past year as a team with the City of Smith Station to try to make people have a better understanding and a better life when it comes to the COVID vaccination. We three were on the front lines getting our shot to let people know, hey, it's okay. And we're still having those challenges, especially on this side of the river. A lot of people just are still scared of it. So the teamwork is very, very important. Surround yourself with successful people and you'll be successful. And as young entrepreneurs, young leaders, success is endless if you don't care who gets the success. So don't be talking about this all the time. You just keep pulling that wagon. And don't worry about the mule, just load the wagon is what I say. And then everything will just fall into place. And believe in something, and believe in your dream. And we're the smallest city out of the three. But we're going to have the biggest attitude we can to try to get a seat at the table. So don't ever be counted out and depend on your team.
My turn. All the good stuff's taken.
Now, first let me thank you guys, thank United Way for committing to creating and helping to nurture young leadership, because that's what's going to be carrying all three of our communities forward. And I want to thank Mayor Copeland for hosting actually my cousin by marriage. He and my wife are first cousins. I've got two sister-in-laws that live out near Caldallas, so we keep tabs on them.
Like somebody needs to.
That's right. It's a heavy lift, but I'll tell you this: going into the known, you need a good team. Going into the unknown, you need a great team. And so what we did is in February, when COVID was, I couldn't even spell it if you spotted me to CO. We were starting in February, and we put together a medical response team, communicated with our friends across the river. We had representatives of school district, Fort Benning, the hospitals, every organization that we felt might be an asset as we try to deal with this pandemic that was coming down the tracks, and we really didn't know what it looked like. So that team enabled us to have an impact in every different aspect, every facet of what we were trying to do with. And I'll tell you too that leadership.
I'm looking right now what it is.
That's a big one. But I'll finish by saying that teamwork applies and is necessary more than just governance and more than just leadership of the community. We need teamwork in our schools. Teachers had to pull together like never before to try to educate kids. Families had to pull together like never before to be able to try to juggle staying at work, a parent that might have been furloughed or laid off, and a child that still has to continue to be educated. And we had a lot of people that lost their means for support, so we saw people creating food banks and trying to get out there to make sure we're helping one another. So frankly, without a connectivity, that teamwork can't pull the appropriate amount of weight. What we discovered in COVID, I think, is even though there's a lot of folks that are now doing some remote working, I think you'll see a different work environment with most of our companies, particularly our larger companies. I think at the same time, we've recognized that we still, as human beings, as Mayor Love was pointing out, we need connectivity. We need to be connected with one another. We need to be connected with our families. We need to be connected with our governments so that we understand what they're doing to try to create an environment for us to be safe. So, teamwork is, it's always important, but it's especially important this year.
Excellent. Well, first off, thank you for your leadership during this time. I know that it's been, of course, leading without a crystal ball, and so we appreciate you for your leadership. I guess digging in a little further there, of course, we're now here almost a year and a half later. We're maskless, and things seem to be getting back to normal. And so I guess the next question is, do you feel like our communities are safe? Is it time to get back out? And if so, how are you encouraging folks to get back out and kind of get back to, I guess, our new normal, if that makes sense? We can start here and go back.
That's a tough question, because I think they may or may not support this, but coming into this pandemic, it was difficult. You're feeling your way down a dark hall looking for the next turn, right? It's been just as difficult on planning a return to normalcy. Because the last thing in the world that we want to do is set a tone or create an environment where all the good work that our citizens have done to try to hold down the pandemic goes for naught, and we end up seeing another surge. Having said that, the vaccine is readily available to all who want it. We've even had mobile vaccination units going out into neighborhoods. We've had them in churches. We've done them in fire stations. We've done them in businesses. We've done them at the Chamber of Commerce. We've done them everywhere. At some point, we have to recognize that we have to get back to normal. So we are encouraging people to do so safely. We urge them, if you're not vaccinated, I dropped the mask mandate. We're going to ask council this evening to approve removing that ordinance. But we just have to get back to normal carefully, because people that are not vaccinated are still at danger. And the last thing we want to do is see those numbers spike in our hospitals and see the death toll go up. But we have been encouraging from the beginning for people when they buy, if they buy online, visit a local business in Columbus or in the region, and buy online from them. They all have a website. But we encourage them to continue to support local businesses, and we're doing the same thing. We're glad to see the restaurants in all three of our communities starting to pick back up. And I think people are tired of being shut in, being behind a mask, and not having that connectivity.
I remember when we started the conference calls last year, each week we took time out of our schedule to talk on the phone with people that are way smarter than I am, doctors and stuff. And I remember in March, the word was said, every one of us is going to know somebody that dies from COVID. I thought, ain't no way, that's just not going to happen. Well, I was wrong. So when we all saw what happened. Every one of us probably knows somebody that lost their life to COVID. And so we kind of went into shock and shut down. And so the whole pandemic being shut down was rough. But opening back up, like he said, was just as rough. Sensory overload. Can I go to a restaurant? Do I shake hands? Actually, today's probably the first time I've hugged somebody in a year and a half. And so it's just interesting to open back up. And we must remember, there are those that are not going to get the vaccination, will not get the vaccination. You can pay them, they still wouldn't get the vaccination. So we as people that have gotten the vaccination, whatever, we got to get our lives back and allow things just to happen the way they happen. I hate to say that, but we can't continue to slow down government. We can't continue to slow down businesses and hurt businesses by mandates and so on and so forth. He had Georgia's largest vaccination site, and after 3 weeks, the cars stopped coming. I'm talking about the largest in the state. So, and up in Lee County, we have a big box store that's empty for vaccinations. They run you in and out if people are not coming. So we're at a point now where you've had your shot, go about your life. Good, Godspeed. And those that haven't, I worry about them and I pray for them, but we can't stop America for that.
And as you all have heard, when the COVID first came out, everybody was a little leery. Particularly I was. At times we can sometimes may think it won't happen to us or people. But as it continued to metastasize and grow, it was a clear definement that this thing is real. So it's easier on the front end to make those decisions of what we need to do as a whole. But as it seems like this thing is subsiding, particularly in our position, it's not as easy to say, well, listen, let's go ahead and do this and encourage everybody we're safe and all that. One of the things that Mayor Henderson said this earlier is that we have to listen to the scientists. However, we are listening to the scientists, but the scientists are still saying that people who are vaccinated are more not likely to spread it or get it. Not likely, but they do say with optimism that we need to be careful. So what we have to do, as I stated earlier, is I believe in sacrificial leadership. And what I mean by that, we have to show our communities in this regions that we're walking what we're being told by the scientists as far as setting the example for the people that we're responsible for. But as far as just telling people you're safe to do this and do that, neither one of us will do that because there's still some uncertainties. I will say that we have our arms more around this. When I say we, I mean as a country, more around this. So the light is at the tunnel. We have to be optimistic, but we also have to be realistic to make sure that we are doing those things, not just for ourselves, to protect ourselves, but also the people that we have to deal with. So it's not as easy to open up.
Let me have one thing. I want to thank United Way, because United Way is working with Community Foundation to try to create they've got a community COVID fund, but they've still got some money. So there's meetings right now going on trying to determine how best to utilize those funds to encourage people who are kind of on the fence or maybe misinformed. I challenge y'all to get involved in that, because the quicker we can start working with people, particularly in our underserved or underinformed communities, the quicker we're going to feel safe and comfortable about everybody being maskless and being in crowds. So reach out to the United Way. They'll tell you how to get it going.
So as we all seek to get to a new normal, we think about the businesses, the organizations that just didn't survive the pandemic. A lot of businesses were closing down, but in that same instance, a lot of other businesses began to thrive. We saw a new hotel go up in Columbus. We saw different local businesses that started. So, and either one of you can take this question, but do you have any plans for bringing in local businesses to, let's say, Smith Station, Phoenix City?
Yes, that's always out there. Because again, the lifeblood of any municipalities are the taxes. And we always encourage that. And fortunately, we've been blessed in this area. We still been able to have movement as far as businesses being prosperous. I know in Phoenix City, our tax was up year over year, almost 20%. Now, there's a lot of reason behind that. There are other things that we may have faltered on. But we're always looking for business. We're always out there talking, trying to grow our community, which means that as we grow it, then we are able to create a better quality of life for the people in our communities as well as our region, because we are all connected. I can tell you, whatever happened in Smith and Columbus affects Phoenix City and vice versa. I can tell you that it's that connectivity. So we're always looking and talking to businesses, and anytime local business or businesses come in your community, what they are really saying to us that they trust this community. So what we ask to do as a community is to reciprocate that, to patronize them, because I can tell you, small businesses in our community is the lifeblood of our communities, and businesses as a whole is the lifeblood because we live off tax dollars. So yes, we are been very fortunate to continue some momentum. Not as much as we want to, but I don't think we'll ever get there where we're satisfied.
We had this conversation last night with someone. I think we're about to enter COVID part 2, which is the effect of what it's going to have on businesses. Employee situation is unbelievable right now. Acquiring employees and retaining employees. Like these two guys, our tax base was up 20 to 25%, and that's because we went from not having a Victoria's Secret or Bath and Body Works at Smith Station to having it, an online presence. Our online sales, tax sales, are out of this world. So if someone shops from home, even Amazon, we get tax from them. So the future of business is going to change. The landscape is going to change a lot, and thanks in part to the millennial generation, the younger generation, they're shopping differently than we did. So yes, acquiring businesses is huge. In Smith Station, we've had over 400 houses built in the last 4 years, and so, but our commercial has not taken off. Prior to COVID, commercial was about to start happening, and it slowed down. Now it's starting to pick back up, and I'm hearing whispers of certain things coming, and also when you grow like that, you need to grow strategically, not just grow this, that, and the other, because people say, well, I'm tired of fast food. I want this one here. I want this experience. I want that experience. So you have to grow strategically. But I see us growing in the future, Smith Station, growing in the future with commercial applications inside the city limits.
We're constantly trying to find ways to generate more jobs, and that's what it's about. We want the business in here because we want to create jobs. City of Columbus kicks in about $1.2 million to the Development Authority every year, so they can use that to try to fund their economic development activities. We also set aside for their use, they ask council for draws on it, another $1.2 million every year. That's done in the form of a total of $1.5 million. So we're very, very aggressive on trying to find ways to generate jobs. In the middle of a pandemic, just like these guys, their cities had almost a surge. We did too. Frankly, can't explain it other than there's 3 dynamic mayors that are responsible. I try that. Yeah, I get laughter when I tell people.
And we're laughing too, aren't we?
The truth is, we don't know why. I mean, I think some of it was artificial because of the stimulus money that was put out, the higher than normal payment coming in through unemployment. But we also are seeing some systemic growth. We've seen our sales tax go up about 8%. That includes a 20% decline in April of last year when everything was shut down. Our hospitality has taken it on the chin, as you could well imagine. We're down about 35 to 40% our hotel motel tax. That impacts everything, all of our art stuff, all of our CBB stuff. Our Trade Center's got a $1 million hole in its budget right now. Civic Center, very similar to that. Now we're very hopeful that the ARP money that is being offered by the federal government can be utilized for that revenue replacement. But we also have, and I've talked to our city manager, and I'm committed to making sure that some of that money goes to small businesses, either in the form of grants or forgivable loans, so that the businesses we lost, people that, I mean, nobody saw this coming. So if you just opened a business right at the doorstep of this pandemic and you sunk all your cash into it, you were in trouble. Unless you happen to have a business that wasn't going to be impacted, it's more tech driven. So we lost a lot of those businesses. Startup Columbus is working from both sides of the river to try to help entrepreneurs get their feet back under them. We're going to try to provide some money. I don't know how it's going to be done yet. We'll probably partner with the chamber or another organization to help us distribute it. But we're committed to trying to generate those jobs. We've still got some development. WC Bradley is right there where Country's is. They're doing that whole block. It's going to be amazing. It's $167 million development going on. They're going to have retail, parking, housing, all in that one area. We got a real cool thing that's going to be great for the region. Y'all heard of Fetch Dog Park? Who thought I'd be up here touting the dog park, right? But you didn't read my icebreaker. It was my wife's favorite child has 4 legs. But Fetch is a dog park that's been all over the region. And it's for millennials to take their dogs. They have dog washing stations. They have a bark patrol that watches your pet. You can sit there and watch sports on TV and have a cold beverage of your choice. And so it's really taken off. So we're seeing a change in the culture of all of our communities because we're seeing some of the younger people get involved. That's changing the arts, it's changing the restaurant scene, and it's changing some of the recreational opportunities. So yeah, we're continuing to press forward. We've got 2 more hotels that should come online within the next 6 months. And of course the Mercer Medical School, they should be completed by fall, I think, or maybe spring of next year. And most people that get a medical school, that entire region, it transforms that region because you've got research opportunities, you've got other investments that take place in it. So I think there's a lot of really good things coming for this entire region.
And let me say this, that's benefit
Absolutely.
city as well as the city of Smith. And one of the reasons why our taxes was up year over year, we get beat up a lot because we don't have restaurants, nice sit-down restaurants, which we are constantly trying to recruit investors. But one of the reasons why ours was up is that we have a lot of what they call, this quick service restaurant, fast food. So when COVID hit, then that shut down a lot of the indoors restaurants. But everything was drive-through, so it really helped spike down numbers. And we're the opposite of Smith's, where they have a lot of home building. Ours has slowed down, but we have a lot of commercial development. And the first time of the history of Phoenix City, we have commercial development going on in every district of our city. That's the first time that ever happened. So, hopefully we can keep recruiting, as Mayor Henderson said. We want to continue to recruit, get our businesses to come, and particularly to create a quality of life for people, and that's through jobs being created, people spending money in this region, and it helps all of us. So, as Columbus grows, we all grow. We all provide something for our region for people to have a quality of life. And that's the most important thing.
You go through, we had, in the middle of the pandemic, Kaiser Warren moved their North American headquarters to Columbus, created 250 jobs. PathTech created 300 jobs. Go ride through the parking lot and see how many tags come from Alabama. I mean, it's if not evenly split, it's close. I mean, people don't realize, as Mayor Lowe pointed out, just how important it is for the interdependence that exists on both sides of the river. We talk all the time that river does not divide Georgia and Alabama and Columbus and Phoenix City. It actually connects us. And I think it's even more tangible because of a lot of the entertainment value that river provides for both sides.
We need to remember too the impact that Fort Benning has on us. When we have a lot of retired military here. and they get out of the military, they just want to stay here because they love the region, Columbus, Phoenix City, and Smith Station. That says a lot about these three towns, that soldiers who are from wherever want to stay here because they love the region and they have a lot to offer. If you travel anywhere, I would say this Tri-City area is a very desirable place to live. We're very lucky to live here.
And let me say this, I always say this, and for the ones that have lived in big cities, let me tell you something. You can get anywhere in this region you want to in 20 minutes or less. That's priceless. I'm telling you, it's priceless. So I can tell you, we've lived in big cities and it takes you an hour and a half to get to work, or an hour. Let me tell you, 20 minutes anywhere, that's priceless.
Yes, it is. An Atlanta boy. Yes, it is. So I actually want to go off script for a second and ask this as we kind of open back up. Little fun question. What is from each of your cities, what's your favorite attraction or favorite, I guess, element of your city, if you can share? Favorite thing to do?
I'll say, let me say this, and maybe I shouldn't, but I am, because I really don't want it to come across the wrong way. But one of the things in playing sports, I've been on a lot of high level things, but please don't, I don't want me or anybody to take this wrong. The most intrinsically rewarding thing that I've been involved in Phoenix City is when we're able to give scholarship to seniors who are graduating to go to school. That's intrinsically rewarding to me because, I'm smart enough to know that I'm the kid that wore the dunce hat, but I'm smart enough to know this, is that if we provide some mechanism for students, it may be one of them that may have to take care of me one day. And that's the biggest for me.
I think from a physical location, Columbus is one of the largest area-wise cities in the state. We've got 222 square miles. So it's hard for me to pick one area because I would say it's our uptown area. I think any thriving community has to have a strong heartbeat. And that heartbeat in most instances is going to be the downtown area. And I especially like and fond of ours because it is right there at Alabama. It welcomes people from the west and it welcomes people from Fort Benning coming down there to eat dinner. So I think, and I think if you look at that Riverwalk, which frankly was just a concrete covering for a 90-inch sewer pipe, I mean, that's what it is. It was a CSO project that the EPA and EPD said we had to get completed. So we had some wise folks that said, well, we got to run that pipe down there and let gravity do its job. Let's put a Riverwalk up. You can trace every positive development in my mind back to that river. Because all the trails that we're seeing reclaimed, all the connectivity, the whitewater rafting that benefits Phoenix City and Columbus, even the zip line, which that's the only thing I haven't done. The zip line, there's an energy that has. It's interesting to me that back in the 1800s, when our towns were founded on the river, it was for energy, right? It was to be able to drive the mills. Mills died. That river is still providing energy for this entire region. So I think that's my favorite part, my snapshot and the region.
We're 20 years old this June, Smith Station is, and a group of people got together and said, you know what, we want to make a city. And then the reason why they wanted to do that was because of what this is. So I would say our number one thing in Smith Station is people. I like to tell people we're Mayberry 2021, and we really are. Come evening, the streets roll up and people will hear it. We have Swing Park over there, and people swing. It doesn't matter what age they are. People playing cornhole, hanging out. It's the community that we have, the environment we have, and the one special thing is the people, and everybody's just proud to be from Smith Station. And as far as one building or one thing, we're so young, it's really safe. We don't have a river walk. We can walk to the river, but we can't. we have a river walk. Yeah. But the pride of our school system.
You can cut these out.
Yeah. I asked Skip when he got here, I said, you got your passport to be this far? No, but it's our people. That's what makes it special, because everybody knows everybody, and people just genuinely are happy to see each other, and it's just our people.
That's really good that we all have some very positive things to count for each of our counties, our cities. On the other hand of things, on the other side of things, people always want to ask about crime. I think every Columbus example, every crime that happens, they want to know where you are. And I know you're probably at home or something, but anyway, in general, from a crime perspective, there are concerns that what takes place in Columbus may trickle over into Alabama, into Smith Station. What are your thoughts about the increased crime rate and the death rate in Columbus, and how it impacts the surrounding counties and communities, and what are we doing about it?
Well, just like economic development is a regional initiative, crime is too. I mean, some of the crimes, some of the violent crimes, there's at least 3 that I know of that started in Phoenix City and came over to Columbus and finished it with a gunshot. And you know, I will tell you this, we talk about this a lot. It seems like there's a subculture in existence across our country. We were talking just a few minutes ago, I've talked in the last 3 weeks to 6 or 8 mayors from Georgia and from Alabama. They all are experiencing the exact same thing. They're experiencing a rise in aggravated assault with a weapon. And they're also experiencing challenges in trying to get more police officers. Who would want to be a cop? With what we see on YouTube and what we see on the news, and a lot of these law enforcement officers are in situations in other parts of the country that they make terrible decisions. I mean, criminal decisions. Everybody gets splashed with it. So our police force here in town has to deal with some of the fallout, and it creates an anxiety between the people that are served and the people serving. And that's a horrible thing to do. We have invested in technology to try to do real-time tracing of our active crime. We have a shooting now. We've got a gang intelligence task force that will take that data and push it out to the officers right away. They immediately go after that area to try to double down on some of their patrols. We've got tag readers in sheriff's deputies' cars. Sheriffs are typically responsible in Muskogee County for the jail and for the courts. They're out doing patrols. They're out there trying to pull people, because if we can stop them on the street, then we can have an opportunity to search those vehicles for guns. If we see a stolen tag or an outstanding warrant, we can go in there and look at those. Because in my mind, if we don't start getting the guns off the streets, I don't see this changing. And we are also approaching it from a preventive standpoint, but that takes a long time to develop. We put over $800,000 a year into crime prevention programs that we provide grants. Last year, 83% of those monies went to programs that addressed young people. We have created 3 job training programs just in this last year, even in COVID. We've had True Spring, if y'all are familiar with Rob and Kerry Strickland, they do an amazing job. They told us about a dream they had about getting this thing working. The city kicked in $100,000, provided the facility, and they're now teaching people culinary skills and construction skills that are going to graduate right into jobs. We've got a new program coming into town. They originally targeted October. Now they're trying to move it up to July. It's called Construction Ready. It's a program, it's an intensive 4-week program that graduates people directly into construction jobs. 97% placement rate. We've got GED programs. We put all kinds of money into preventing this. We've got, you shouldn't ask crime, because unfortunately I'll get talking about that. I'll try to wrap it up by saying from Columbus' standpoint, there's a multi-pronged approach. Yeah, we got to have the enforcement. We're doing everything we can humanly do to get out there and stop them from happening. If we can't stop them, we try to catch them as quick as we can, get them separated from their freedom, because they don't deserve to be walking around if they're carrying a gun. The other things we're doing are trying to, it's like, Bubba talks a lot about the military, because the military is so important to our area. If you're in a battle, you cut off the supply line to your enemy, right? Because you got to kind of choke out their resources. We're trying to do the same thing. This supply line is young people who have no structure. They have no family surrounding them. They don't have anybody to give them expectations and then hold them accountable for meeting those expectations. So we're putting in place programs, we're even putting in mobile programs, where we're going to invest about $100,000 in a mobile parks and recreation bank. So what we will do is, where we don't have a rec center, we're going to take a rec center too. We're going to start doing programming in some of these hot spots and trying to provide some mentorship and some leadership and some structure for these young people. So anyway, that's a rambling. Like I said, this is only an hour's speech. It's like Netflix. I've got 4 or 5 seasons of this thing. But I will tell you that we are working. We communicate regularly with these guys. Our police and sheriff communicate with not only the law enforcement people in Alabama, but also at the federal, to try to make sure that we have the right information to be able to fight some of this stuff.
Well, thank you for what you're doing in Columbus.
Let me say this. I think Skip Rigman, well, maybe a month and a half ago sometime, we had a meeting with the chief of police from Phoenix City, Columbus, the sheriff from Phoenix City, Columbus, and other people from Phoenix City, Columbus, because, as I stated earlier, we have to realize this. We are connected, this one region. And when you have crime in Columbus and Phoenix City and Smith, our hearts bleed, because we know what it's doing to families. We know that there is a systemic problem. What we need to do, and what we've done in Phoenix City, is that our chief and his police staff has been charged with the responsibility. We have to do more engagement, which is probably a little more easier than it is for Columbus because of the size of Columbus. But we have to start going out, engaging younger people in the community, building that trust to let them know that, listen, even though I'm in blue, but I'm really a good guy or a good female officer. We have to do more of that, because if we don't, as Mayor Henderson said, there are tough situations out there for young people where they have no structure at all. We don't give up on them. We just have to be willing to engage them, to show them that making the right choices will benefit you. But you have to have compassion to lead them. But one of the things we're doing is that we're strategically being more engaging in the different communities of where crime is taking place, because, as he said earlier, they go back and forth across that river, but it affects all of us. And it is a systemic problem in this country. And quite naturally, the bigger the city is, the more crime we're going to have. But this is one region, and it is ultimately affecting all of us.
In Smith Station, we are part of the region, and seeing what they see, it does break our hearts. So I have a point here. Crime is not a huge issue in Smith Station, but suicide is. And so that is a horrible thing. Last year we had 11 suicides. This year we've already had, I think, 4, and the attempts are outrageous. We had tackled that, and I'm sure y'all said in the news, Smith Station, we tackled that because of the student population that we have. So I want to tie crime in with suicide, and the whole problem is, I think a lot of times, younger generation of people are thinking that social media is real. And so when they look at social media and they see that someone is being glorified for a crime or something like that.
No, sir.
Glorified for a crime or not finding a way out. All of us have social media. We need to address these issues. When some crimes in voice, say, have you ever walked a day in the shoes of what they're trying to do? This man have worked tirelessly for crime in their areas. I promise you, I've seen it firsthand and been with them. And it's heartbreaking every time I see somebody say something negative about either one of them or their city managers or their city council, because of the fact that, what would you do? What's your goal? What are you going to do to make it better instead of clicking? And I'm just kind of passionate about that, because a lot of times we allow social media to drive a lot of things that are unseen. And that goes from sexual misconduct all the way to murder. And so I think our issue, we need to address social media, and those of us that have a backbone and a voice need to get on there and take up for those that are attacking others.
So we have to get ready to close out. We've run out of time. I do have one challenge for you before we close out. One word headed into the next year, one word that describes our region, where you hope to see our region headed into the next year. One word.
Unity, more unity.
Unity.
Growing.
Growing.
Love.
Love. Excellent. Thank you, Mayor. We saying we're gonna take a picture. I know we're gonna take. Are we gonna take a group picture?
Yeah, we should do that again. That was fun.
Thank you.
Do you want to get one of just them for y'all?